Hi, welcome back to my channel, my Turo channel, and I'm going to give you an update on the first 2 months of actual business. Now, the last time that I've done on Turo. Now, the last time that I did a video was right around the 1st of December, and I put two cars, actually basically the kind of a quick synopsis. Around the 1st of November, I found out about Turo, did a lot of research, and bought two cars in November. I bought a 2015 Mitsubishi Mirage and a 2014 Hyundai Elantra. Now, I put both of those cars on Turo right at December 1st and was real pleased that during the month of December they stayed extremely well booked. About 95% of the time they were booked. And the month of December, the revenue that was generated by both cars totaled was $1,085. Now, the Elantra is a little bit nicer car, I think, than the Mitsubishi, and I put it at a little bit higher price, and the Elantra earned a little bit more than the Mitsubishi. So bottom line, in terms of the amount of money that I put into the two cars, the Mitsubishi Mirage had 118,000 miles. I paid $5,800 for it. It needed, I thought it was ready to go and thought it was in good condition. And as it turns out, the day before my first rental, it started missing. Now it has a two-cylinder engine, and a miss basically means it's only firing, excuse me, it has a three-cylinder engine, and the miss means that it's only firing on two cylinders. So it really could not go out. So I probably paid too much. I had Firestone do the work, and it cost $1,400 and almost $1,500. And so with tax, title, license, and the repair work that was done on the Mitsubishi, I ended up with about $7,600 in that car. Now, that's too much for a Mitsubishi 2015 Mitsubishi Mirage with 118,000 miles. And I was nervous, but I already had the car, and I couldn't very well just not fix it. Couldn't have sold it in that condition, so I really got stuck, and I had no choice but to go ahead and put at least some money into it to get it running. Now, the other car was a 2014 Hyundai Elantra, and I had to put, that car cost me $5,500. It had 117,000 miles, and it really ran extremely good. Now, I've had a lot of experience with Hyundais, and I've always found them to be very reliable cars. But so this car had a little bit of a knock in the steering column, and to get some brake work done, get the knock fixed, and get a couple of recall items, which didn't cost me anything, I took it to the dealership, and they charged $600 for the repair work. And so when you add it all up, I have about $6,400 in the Hyundai Elantra. Now, both cars have been on Turo since December 1st, and they made $1,085, like I said, in December. During January, the two cars generated a total of $985. Now, today is January 30th, and so the month is almost over. But it's been a very eventful month, very eventful month. Now, I'm real pleased in one sense, in that the two cars generated real close to the same amount of money in January that they did in December. December, of course, is Christmas, a lot of people traveling. A pretty good month in terms of the booking levels and the booking activity. January, I think, is traditionally a little slower. And so I was real pleased with the revenue. Unfortunately, about 4 days ago, the person that had the Mitsubishi ran into a curb at apparently a pretty high rate of speed and completely crushed the left front rim, steel rim, and the tire. And in the process did significant damage to the steering and suspension. And we had it towed to the dealership, and the dealership says it's going to be a $5,000 repair. And quite honestly, I don't expect the Turo protection to want to pay $5,000 to get the car repaired. So they're probably going to end up offering me hopefully about $5,000 for it, which is unfortunate because even though that car has made about $1,000 in revenue in the 2 months that I've had it, I paid, by the time you figure all of the, the investment that I put into the car, I paid about $7,500. And so I'm going to end up losing at least a couple of $1,000, well, at least $1,000, probably $1,500 on that car. So if they give me $5,000 and I have $7,500 in it, that's $2,500 difference. And if I've made $1,000, then it's a $1,500 loss, pure and simple. Not to mention the time and so forth. But that's the risk that I ended up having to accept, given the fact that I paid probably too much for that car. It was the first car that I bought, and I think Turo is like any other business. As you engage in the business more, as you study and research and learn more, you hopefully get better at making decisions about the business. Now, I'm real happy with the Elantra. It's continuing to run fine, and I think that car is going to be long-term a really good investment unless it gets wrecked out here in the first couple of months, which it'll be difficult for me to recover the total investment that I have in it, but I think it's going to be fine. I'm certainly in that car for a lower amount than I was in the Mitsubishi. Now during January, I've bought 2 additional cars. I bought a 2014 Hyundai Accent, and I thought I had a pretty good deal on it. The car was advertised in Facebook Marketplace for $7,000. I negotiated to buy it for $6,000. It needed some body work, so the person that sold it to me had a body shop, and he was actually selling it for somebody else. And bottom line is, he did $200 worth of body work on it, really quite a bit of work for just $200. And the car looks beautiful. It's a really nice looking car. And so I put a couple of tires on it, put an alignment on it. And as I was driving it home from that, after I picked up the car, I took it and put 2 tires and an alignment on it. And then I was driving it back from the tire place, and a check engine light came on, stopped, got the codes read, and ends up that it was a catalytic converter. Now, most likely, somebody that was involved in the sale of the car to me, and it could have been the owner of the car, not the person that sold it to me, somebody probably just unhooked the battery and reset all the check engine lights, and after I drove it enough, the check engine light came on. So I think pretty likely, the owner of the car knew that it had a catalytic converter issue. So it ended up costing about $890 to get the catalytic converter replaced with an aftermarket catalytic converter. It passed inspection, got the car licensed, and now have the Hyundai Accent in Turo listed, and I've had a couple of trips on it. I'm optimistic that it's going to be a very good car, though I have to say that I'm in that car for about $7,600 with all the work that I had to put into it on top of what I paid for it. The other car that I bought in January was a 2014 VW Jetta. Now, the Jetta has 85,000 miles on it. The Accent, by the way, had 110. The Jetta has 85,000 miles on it. Actually, the Accent had 105, but the Jetta has 85,000 miles on it, and it was advertised on the marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, for $6,500. I offered $5,500. It was accepted, and it had it was in good shape. It had a little dent on the right rear corner of the body panel. Right on the corner, somebody backed into something, and so it had sort of a dimple in it. But other than that, in good condition. Needed a couple of tires, so I had to put tires on it. So $5,500 plus tax, title, license, put it right at $6,000. $300 for tires, $6,300. And then I needed keys. Now here's something that I didn't realize, but every single car I've bought only had one key. And of course, they also have clickers or fobs, either built into the key or attached to the key. And The challenge with the Jetta is that it only had one key, and so I did a lot of checking around. Now, I've been able to get, for most of the cars, go to A1 Locksmith and get a duplicate key made for anywhere between $50 and about $100, depending upon whether it needed to be a programmed key or not. But A1 couldn't do the Jetta key, and so I had to buy the key from a local Volkswagen dealership. The key itself cost about $150, and then the key has to be programmed. So the key is a special order thing. They actually cut the key somewhere else. They don't do that at the dealership. Ship it to the dealership, and then the dealership has to program the key, which is about another $150. So bottom line is a key costs $300. Now I've had to buy a separate key, a second key for every vehicle. And so I'm kind of expecting that, but it turned out that the Volkswagen key was way more expensive than the keys for any of the other vehicles have been. So I ordered a key, and then they, in the process of programming it, they sync the two keys, the one I had with the new one, and they found out that the one I had that came with the car was an aftermarket key, and in the process of syncing it, they burned it out. So here I am, paid for a new key, back to just having one key that works, had to order another key. Fortunately, the dealership isn't going to charge me a programming fee, but now to have two keys for that VW, it's going to be about $450. So there's another set of expenses that you just don't expect. Now, when it was at the dealership, they looked at the car, put it up on the rack, I guess, and in any event, they noticed that what they call the core support was not present. Now, the core support refers to the radiator core, and I don't know if the vehicle was in an accident or what, but probably was, but basically the whole front end was missing the entire support for the radiator core. And the radiator core was only partially fixed to the sort of the top supports. The bottom supports, the cradle that it sits in, wasn't there. And now the Volkswagen dealership told me they wanted to spend $2,500, or they wanted me to spend $2,500 fixing that. So I went to this guy that I bought the Accent through, who has a local shop in Irving, and he did he basically said that he could fix it for much less. It ended up being about $900 for a core complete support system, which is sort of like a picture frame around the radiator, and it provides all the support for the radiator, as well as there was a sort of a skid plate that needed to be put in to prevent rocks from coming up off the highway and bouncing around inside of the engine compartment, protecting the radiator. So all of that work, which needed to be done, was about $900. So here we are again on the VW Jetta. Get a really good purchase of $5,500. TT&L is about $300. Ended up putting $450 worth of keys on the car, and then another $900 for the work that needs to be done on the core support. So here we are again in this car, a little over $7,000, about $7,300, $7,200, and I also had to put some tires on the car. So what I'm really essentially telling you is that of the four vehicles that I purchased, an average of about $1,000 in additional expenditures, aside from the tax title licensing process. Every vehicle's needed an average of about $1,000 added to it to be able to get it into good, reliable condition to put on Turo. Now, I also just purchased a 2013 Hyundai Elantra with 110,000 miles, and the price that I've got on this car is $5,600, and it's already been worked over at that price. It's already been worked over with, needed a little bit of body work. The front bumper, the rear bumper the front bumper needed to be replaced. The rear bumper needed to have a repaint on it. The right rear view mirror needed to be replaced. And it needed tire balancing and alignment. And so all of those things brought the price of the car to $5,600, and I have a guarantee that it'll pass inspection. When I pick up the car here in another day or two, I would have it already if it wasn't for the ice storm that we're having right now in the North Texas market area. So I'm going to be down to 4 cars. I had 5, counting the one I just purchased, but one got wrecked out. And so the bottom line to everything that I have learned really so far is pretty straightforward. Pretty much anybody that sells you a car, you really can't trust them. I mean, I'm not going to say they're 100% liars, but you know, you really got to be careful buying cars. They're almost always going to have some things that you need to do to them. You're going to either need tires, you're going to almost certainly need keys, you'll probably need alignments. You know, there'll be a variety of relatively nominal things, but some of them might be fairly expensive that you're going to need to factor in. So every single vehicle that you decide to purchase, look at your cost plus your TT&L and have at least $1,000 set aside for incidental issues that have to be rectified once you get the car. It seems to take about 2 weeks from the time you buy a car to the time that you're actually able, on average, to be able to put it out on Turo to start making money. And generally speaking, it takes at least a few days for it to start getting bookings. So this brings me to wondering whether or not it might actually make sense to buy cars from reputable dealers that have a higher quality when you buy them, so that you have less unanticipated and unexpected expenses associated. So the question kind of becomes, does it make sense to pay a little more to buy through a reputable dealer than to try to find better bargains on the Facebook Marketplace? Because every car that I've bought on Facebook Marketplace has had hidden expenses ranging from as little as, you know, about $500 or $600 up to as much as a couple of $1,000, averaging around $1,000 per car. The best deals that I've gotten have been through a dealer that I've now found, and he also does work on cars. And this is one of the things that I think experience in the car business starts to benefit you as a Turo host, is that you begin to make relationships and find people that you can trust, that you know, will end up helping you find good cars and be people that you can rely upon to help you in your business. And I think building relationships so that you can get better deals on cars and lower costs on repairs, people that you can trust, just is one of those things that just takes time. And in the beginning, you're going to make some mistakes. You're probably going to pay higher prices for both service as well as for vehicles than you probably should. But you simply can't build relationships without jumping into the game. And it's kind of like being in a poker table. You can't win if you're not at the table. And you know, if you're going to build relationships, you're going to have to do business, and that means that you're going to make some mistakes along the way. I certainly feel like we've made a few mistakes. My wife and I are doing this business, and so I'm sharing some of the things that I've learned, hopefully to be able to help you make smarter decisions. So you know, if you go out onto to YouTube and watch a bunch of videos, you're inevitably going to see people that have been in the Turo game for quite a few years, and most of those people will have a sort of nostalgic frame of reference prior to the pandemic, when they could buy a car for $3,000 to $5,000 that now is going to cost $5,000 to $8,000. And I think one of the things that we have to do at this point in time is realize that while the market may very well be in the process of resetting to a more normalized pricing structure, the reality is, as of January, February of 2023, you still have to pay a lot of money for cars. And you can't find a car for $3,000 to $5,000 that is going to be worth having. It's not going to fit Turo's parameters of age and mileage, and it's not going to be a car that's going to be able to just plug and play right into the Turo platform. If you find a $3,000 to $5,000 car, you're going to be spending almost certainly several $1,000s getting it into condition to put it on Turo. So at today's market, I think it's realistic to think that you're going to be looking for cars, generally speaking, between $6,000 and $8,000, and your investment per vehicle on the low end of the car is going to be $6,000 to $8,000. Now, if you can get a car for $6,000, like this last Elantra that I've purchased, and I think it's going to be ready to go, it might need a brake job. I don't know. I still haven't had a chance to check that out, but presuming that I can put it out there for the $5,600 price plus TTNL, about $6,000, and start making money, that car should make at least $500 a month on a reliable basis. And on an ongoing basis, what I have found is that you really only have to, I mean, cleaning the cars is really easy. I can't think, in every single person that's returned a car, and I've had about 15 rentals now in the 2 months that we've been doing this. Every single person's returned the car in a relatively clean fashion, meaning that it just needed a quick wipe down, it needed to be washed on the outside, clean the windows, and vacuum. And you really haven't had really a lot of dirt on the floor or the seats. They've been really well taken care of, with the exception of the person that ran in, that wrecked a car. So the amount of time that I've had to invest in cleaning cars and prepping them has been very minimal, and the cars have, on average, probably stayed out 7 days on average. So I have to go back and pull that data, but I've had vehicles stay out for over 2 weeks, one almost 3 weeks. Most of them stay out for a week. Very few of them are shorter than about 5 days, and so probably about an average of 7 days, maybe an average of 8 days, 9 days for the average rental, which means that you only have to clean the car 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times in a month, which if it only takes about 15 minutes, which is about right, to wipe down the car, clean the car, and just have the car ready for re-rental. And that's about all it takes, is about 15 minutes. If that's the case, most of the time that we've had to invest in the cars has been transporting them to and from the pickup location. And sometimes, if the pickup is relatively short after the recent drop-off, I just take the cleaning materials down to the designated point that we use and clean the car there on location and just make sure that it's ready to go. So this has been a pretty good experience. We now have 4 cars, which as of February 1st, we have 4 cars that'll be on the Turo platform, a 5th one that's wrecked, and we're waiting for Turo to reimburse us. I will do another video that'll describe that process and how it went. But I've been very happy so far. If we spend $6,000 to $7,000 on a car and it generates $500 or a little bit more per month, that's a cash-on-cash return of about 12 to 13 months. And in today's high-priced car market, I think that's pretty reasonable. If the vehicles are basically are not wrecked, then we'll get double our money back within 2 years, which is basically a 50% annualized return on investment. So you can't get that in the stock market. You really even can't get that in the real estate market. So I think this is proving to be a pretty good rental option, or not rental, a pretty good business option. And we're looking to add, I'd like by the end of this year to have somewhere between 10 and 12 cars. We'll probably add about 3 or 4 cars after watching the business for the next 2 or 3 months, probably around March, April, maybe somewhere in that time frame, maybe June. We'll probably purchase 2 or 3 additional cars, and then from that point, the cash flow from the cars on a monthly basis should allow us to buy a new car about once every month or every other month. So by the end of the year, we should end up having around 10 to 12 cars. So that's the plan. We're going to be going after the low-end car market. People are willing to pay 20 to 25, 30 bucks a day for car rentals. That's a market that we're real comfortable with. And again, it's so far proven to be a pretty good business investment. So I hope this helps you understand what the first couple of months of Turo might look like for you. You know, we've had our first wreck. Hopefully we don't have any more for a long time, but that is part of the game, and you just have to know that, you know, it's all, you do this long enough, I'm sure it's going to happen. It's probably happened to us again. So be sure that you know that that could happen, and you may, especially if it does happen in the first few months, you may very well end up losing some money, because it's real easy to end up investing more in the car than the Kelley Blue Book value that you'll probably get out of it if it gets wrecked. Hope this has helped, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.